This lesson is an introduction to persuasive speaking. I first want to go over the differences of informative and persuasive speaking, since most of us just came off of informative speaking. Persuasive speaking, we need to now choose between our options. In informative, we had options, we gave information. Now in persuasive, you give all of that information, but now it is our job to tell the audience through support and give that choice. In persuasive speaking, we are now the leader. As I noted before, informative speaking, you're the teacher. What do you want to teach your audience about? Now you're the leader. You're going to teach us and guide us and lead us to the result. A few other key things. You have a higher commitment from your audience. You have to try to prove something. You're going to try to influence thinking or motivate action. That takes a higher commitment. There's higher ethical obligation, not only from the speaker, but also from the audience. The speaker, you need to try to get the most unbiased sources that you can. Different sources. So it's an obligation that needs to be there when you're trying to change someone's mind or motivate action. This leads us to proofs or appeals, and sort of what makes one believable. What's that support behind? So as I noted before, our speech needs to fall into one of two ways: influence thinking, motivate action. Here's a few examples of a specific purpose to influence thinking. To persuade my audience that William Shakespeare did not write the plays attributed to him. To persuade my audience that elephant trophy hunting is legally and morally wrong. To persuade my audience, my classmates, that taking drugs without a prescription is unsafe. The second one, to motivate action. And when you're asking someone to take action, give it precisely exactly what you want that audience member to do. Don't beat around the bush. You're going to hit it in the beginning, in the introduction, and reinforce it at the end. Here's a few examples. To persuade my audience to eat fish as their chief source of protein. To persuade my audience to sign a petition aimed at requiring drivers over 75 to be retested annually. Change.org pretty much has a petition for everything. So you could easily pull a petition from there, have audience members sign it. If you're in the classroom or in a group setting in face-to-face, you could have it right there. Last one example there, to persuade my audience that action is required to deal with the problem of childhood obesity. Let's go into a little bit of history. I know most of you are probably or have heard of Aristotle. You know he was a great philosopher, teacher, scientist, student, author of over 130 works, with over 30 of them surviving. What we want to focus on in persuasion is one of his works called The Rhetoric. And that really looked at why do we believe something or someone? What do we know of, or why do we believe something is true? So he based this on three modes of truth, or three modes of proof, And we're going to call those the traditional appeals. The first one is ethos. That's based on ethical. That's source credibility. That's your credibility appeal. So that's actually you. Source, the source of the credibility. Pathos, pathetic. That's the emotional appeal. And with this, we need to make sure we're ethical with this. So between these two, we've done ethos before. You've already created. Your audience has seen you. Pathos is something that we will add. We'll need to add that emotional appeal. Logos, based on logic, that rational appeal. This is your supporting material. Again, we've done this. The last one I want to talk about is mythos, and that's based on myth. That's the appeal to fit into a larger group or a group issue. So let's break this down a little bit more. First one is ethos, and again, that's your speaker credibility. It's what your audience believes about you. Are you competent? Do you have a good character? Are you charismatic? Are you likable? This can change throughout the presentation, initial, derived, and terminal. So from the beginning, throughout, and then what the audience thinks of you and your credibility at the end of the presentation. Let's move on to pathos. And with this, we always need to make sure that we are ethical in our usage of emotion. So think about what sparks change for you when you become angry at something, when you become fearful, when you're happy, when you're shamed. You make changes. So when something really aggravates you or makes you angry, you make steps to make that change, whether it's on a personal level or on a larger level. So with pathos, we want to use more emotional language, vivid descriptions, paint the picture of that horrendous living situation, those poor conditions, the poverty, the sickness. And you want to appeal to as many senses as possible with that. Remember, we can add in video with this. That's a great way to appeal to senses. Logos is your logic. We've done this. This is your logical appeal. This is giving your audience reasons to support what your claim is. So deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning are just two ways that audience or we break down something, either from general statements to a conclusion, a series of general statements to one conclusion, or a specific case that leads to more of a general premise or statement for it to be true. With logos, let's do a quick review of our supporting material. So what exactly does your audience, your topic, need to help prove your point to your audience? Maybe you need examples. Maybe you need stats, testimony. What type of testimony? Comparison and contrast, basic facts, definitions, a story, analogy. The last one I want to talk about is mythos. This one we need to watch. This idea is to be part of a larger group, a larger member of society. This is definitely more emotionally charged. Some things we need to watch for is ethnocentric behavior, as well as apathy, that I don't care attitude. If it doesn't affect me, I don't care. It doesn't matter about them. So we need to watch it. This is really big in politics. So when you're trying to appeal to someone politically or on a worldly scale, sometimes ethnocentrism and apathy play into that believability, or even that ability to want to listen to you. I want to go into more modern appeals though. And we've talked about these, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is how all of us make decisions. So let's do a quick review here. And I'll pull all this out. We need to appeal to those most basic physiological needs: food, water, air. And move up clothing, shelter, that belonging to others, respect, the independence, that happiness, that self-actualization. Now, many of us are caught up there, but without clean water, South Central Pennsylvania has a great resource of the Susquehanna River. Unfortunately, it is not clean. We can't use it to drink. We can barely use it to eat the fish out of. We're at 2.5 per week that we can legally eat safely. We go into the Chesapeake watershed, into the Chesapeake Bay. ultimately into the ocean. And our problem here, whatever it may be, whatever cause we may want to look at, maybe agriculture, maybe industry, we start at the bottom. Remind yourself that. Another appeal is to appeal to harmony. This is based on the cognitive dissonance theory. This is the emphasis that we want to be in a harmonious state, that we don't like conflicting attitudes. It causes a stirring in our body. If you think about it with anxiety, that feeling that you get, all you want to do is be calm. When you're in an argument, you just want to be calm. Your body sweats to cool it down. So always our body and our mind craves to be in harmony. Appeal to gain. Another way that we work, based on the expectancy outcome values theory, it's that cost to benefit ratio. What do I need to put into this? Maybe a behavior, that change, that adoption of what you're suggesting. What real changes do I need to make to what is the outcome that I will receive? Appeal to commitment. This one's based on the elaboration likelihood model. And this is really just how committed we are. That could be to the topic, that could be to you as a speaker. And it's how we process, either through central processing or that peripheral processing where we're not really going to accept that claim.